The anime kicks off with the protagonist, Yuki, running for his life. His classmate Yuno is chasing him, and no matter where he hides, even in an elevator, she somehow finds him. The moment Yuki sees her approaching, he starts to panic, and right then, the story rewinds to 1 week earlier. Back then, Yuki was just an ordinary boy, quiet, socially awkward, and labeled the dumbest in his class. He had no friends, no social life, and spent most of his time observing people and jotting down notes in his diary. His only companions were imaginary. One was Deus, a self-proclaimed god of time and space, and the other was Mur, Deus's loyal servant who always stayed by his side in these imaginary daydreams. One day, Deus invites Yuki to play what he calls a fun game that promises excitement. Since Yuki believes this is all in his head, he agrees without hesitation. But the next morning, things start to feel strange. Yuki wakes up to find that his diary contains several entries he doesn't remember writing. One of them even predicts that he'll see a serial killer on the news that day. Trying to brush it off, he goes about his usual routine, makes breakfast, and sits down to watch TV. Sure enough, the news report talks about a serial killer, just like his diary said. More predictions follow, all of which come true, including a surprise test at school. Baffled, Yuki tells Deus about it, hoping for an explanation. That's when Deus drops the truth. This is no imagination. It's a real game. He warns Yuki, if his phone, which now acts as his diary, is destroyed, he will die. Realizing the power he now holds, Yuki starts using the diary to shape his life. He aces tests, predicts events, and quickly rises to the top of his class. People start to notice his sudden brilliance, but Yuki is too happy to care. Everything seems to be going perfectly until he realizes someone has been watching him. During an exam, he notices Yuno, a girl in his class, staring at him intensely. Yuki assumes she's just another jealous student, but after the exam, he finds a Mur figurine on Yuno's desk. Before he can think much about it, his phone buzzes with a chilling notification. You will be killed by a serial killer in 10 minutes. As panic sets in, Yuno walks up to him and says, "You're going to die now." Yuki bolts, running through the hallways, barely holding it together. When he reaches the elevator, she's already there. But instead of attacking him, Yuno reveals something shocking. She also has a future diary just like his. Each diary has unique abilities. Hers doesn't show her own future, it shows Yuki's. She confesses that she's been watching over him, using the diary to protect him. Yuki, frightened and unsure whether to trust her, prepares to use his darts for self-defense. But before he can act, Yuno leans in and kisses him. After the kiss, she calmly explains that his would-be killer, who also possesses a diary, is waiting for him on the 14th floor. Yuki and Yuno come up with a plan and make their way to the rooftop. As predicted, the killer arrives. Yuno distracts him, giving Yuki just enough time to throw a dart at the enemy's phone. In this world, if a diary owner's phone is destroyed, their life ends too. And sure enough, the killer dies on the spot. Later, Yuki angrily confronts Deus. He accuses him of hiding the truth, that there are other people with similar diaries. Deus admits it and then teleports Yuki to a place called the Cathedral, where 11 other diary holders are present. Their faces and identities remain hidden. Deus then lays it all out. This is a survival game. 12 individuals have been chosen, each with a diary that predicts the future in its own way. Their task? Eliminate each other. The last person standing will inherit Deus's powers and become the god of time and space. He also explains that each diary only shows predictions based on the user's perspective. For example, Yuki's diary logs things he would normally record, while Yuno's is entirely focused on him. Deus warns that nothing written in the diaries is absolute. Events can change based on the choices of the user or interference from others. Yuki only survived because Yuno intervened. From that moment on, their mission becomes clear. Find and eliminate the other diary holders before they become the next targets. Because in this deadly game, only one can survive, and that person will become a god. Despite the danger, Yuno reassured him that she would protect him, no matter the cost, even if it meant sacrificing her own life. Yuki was stunned by her loyalty. He silently saluted her in his mind. Yuki returned to school the next day, knowing that danger could strike from anywhere. As he left his PE class, he was suddenly approached by a girl named Uryu Minene. Without wasting time, she told him something shocking. The serial killer from earlier had been her teacher. Yuki didn't know how to respond. Then, his phone buzzed with a new entry. "You will die in 3 hours." Before he could process that, Yuno arrived in a panic, rushing to protect him once again. Uryu, watching them from a distance, made her move. She shouted that both of them would die, and the next thing they knew, the building exploded. Amid the chaos and collapsing walls, Yuki and Yuno miraculously survived. Yuno calmly told him that as long as she was around, nothing would happen to him. He had no choice but to trust her. He didn't exactly have many other options. Uryu, meanwhile, was receiving alerts from her diary, indicating the exact locations of all the planted bombs. She screamed from outside that if anyone tried to leave the school building, she'd blow everything up at once. Yuno, using her diary's predictions, helped Yuki dodge the traps and bombs one after another. Yuki couldn't help but wonder, if Uryu had so much time, why didn't she just kill them directly instead of playing this elaborate game? What was the point of dodging all? Meanwhile, the police had arrived at the scene, but to everyone's surprise, the commanding officer told them not to kill Uryu. He had a future diary too, and his diary revealed that all bombs would deactivate the moment Uryu died. Yuki and Yuno rejoined their classmates. Something unexpected happened. Their classmates grabbed them. Turns out, Uryu had made a deal with the entire class. If they handed Yuki over to her, she wouldn't blow up the school. And just like that, they betrayed him. They snatched Yuki's phone and placed it far away, rendering him helpless. Yuno, watching from a distance, was furious. Her mind flashed back to the promise she made to Yuki to protect him at all costs. That promise now fueled her rage. She snapped. Yuno charged into action, breaking through the classroom with violent precision. Uryu, realizing her plan was falling apart, frantically tried to detonate the bombs. People died in the process, and the situation turned brutal. At that moment, another officer arrived, Keigo Kurusu. He too possessed a diary that revealed future crimes. He announced that he had no interest in becoming the god of time and space. His goal was simple: eliminate all criminal activity before it happened. While Keigo handled the external chaos, Yuno launched herself directly at Uryu. Yuki took advantage of the distraction and managed to grab his phone. As Uryu attempted one last desperate move, pressing the button to trigger all landmines, Yuki threw a dart straight at her. Though the dart didn't destroy her phone, it hit her eye, causing serious injury. She screamed in pain and vanished from the scene. After the madness settled, Yuki was approached by Kurusu, who proposed they team up. From this point on, Yuki, Yuno, and Kurusu formed a temporary alliance. They sat down and discussed strategy. Kurusu pointed out that by working together, they could identify and track down the remaining diary holders. But for the alliance to work, they'd have to share the mechanics and weaknesses of their individual diaries. Following the plan, Yuki, Yuno, and Kurusu went their separate ways for the day. Yuki was still tense, unsure of when another attack might come, but Yuno, on the other hand, seemed cheerful. She hoped this outing could bring her closer to Yuki, almost like a date. As the day went on, Yuki began to realize something. The girl he once thought was a stalker might actually just be a sweet, innocent girl who was madly in love with him. At this point, he even recalled a time when cute girls used to like him too, though of course that was long gone. Later that evening, they planned to visit the planetarium to watch the stars, but instead, they decided to try something more casual, like riding the swings. While on the ride, Yuno asked Yuki why he didn't go to the planetarium even though she knew he loved stars. Yuki was shocked. How could she possibly know that? Yuno explained that she had forgotten the memory until recently. It was during a classroom activity where students had to write about their dreams. She had sat alone with Yuki back then and seen that he wrote about wanting to watch the stars with his family. At that time, his parents were getting divorced, and the dream remained just that, a dream. Yuno had promised him that day, "One day I'll marry you, then we'll become a family and watch the stars together." Hearing that, Yuki couldn't believe someone had remembered such a small promise for so long, or that someone could become so obsessed over it. Curious, he asked her if she was hiding anything. Yuno responded by gently closing her eyes and kissing him. Later that night, Yuki walked Yuno back to her place. She asked him to stay with her a little longer. Yuki agreed. He remembered Kurusu's advice about sticking together for safety. Shortly after, the lights went out. Yuno went to prepare something for him while Yuki received a diary notification. "Do not open the bathroom door." Concerned, he moved toward it anyway. The door was shut. He opened it slowly, and what he saw made his blood run cold. Inside were 3 dead bodies. Suddenly, Yuno appeared behind him and whispered, "You shouldn't have opened that." Meanwhile, Uryu Minini was still on the run, hiding from the police. Every possible escape route was blocked, and she didn't know where to go. That's when an unknown masked individual appeared and offered to help. Trusting her diary, she followed him. This stranger gave her medicine and advised her to rest. She noticed that nothing bad had happened yet, and her diary showed no danger. But soon, she felt a sharp pain in her body and collapsed. She then realized there were no diary entries showing up on her phone. The masked man approached, and with just a pinch of his fingers, he turned her phone into a chunk of wood. With a twisted grin, he declared, "I am the 11th diary holder." Back at Yuki's place, Kurusu arrived to check in on him. Yuki, still shaken, tried explaining everything, but then he saw Yuno there too, acting a little embarrassed. Kurusu misread the situation and joked to himself that the two had probably been up to some late-night business. He drove them both to a location linked to their next lead. Kurusu informed them that a religious group had taken interest in their activities. He believed this group might be hiding another diary user. At the facility, they met Orin, a worker who guided them to a mysterious figure known as the Princess. She was hidden behind a wooden partition and introduced herself as the 6th diary holder. Her diary could track both the past and future of her followers, making it an incredible incredibly dangerous tool. Yuki was visibly shaken. He had never seen a diary so powerful before, but the princess assured them she had no desire to become the god of time and space. She only wanted to live peacefully as a priestess. Then, without warning, she said something that made Yuki freeze. Tonight, Yuki must sleep beside me. The plan was clear. The princess, the sixth diary holder, had seen her own death predicted in her diary. Knowing that Yuki had survived death twice already, she believed staying close to him might change her fate. If he was by her side, perhaps she could escape death too. Yuno, however, was furious. Kurusu thought logically. The princess had a point. If Yuki stayed with her, both their lives might be spared. It was a win-win situation. The princess also warned Yuki to stay away from Yuno. She said Yuno was dangerous and could ruin his life. Yuno, through her own diary, saw that people were gossiping about her. She was so furious, she started contemplating whether she should just kill the princess right then and there. Later that night, strange things started happening. Suddenly, the soldiers stationed around the facility became hypnotized. One by one, they marched into the room and started attacking each other. Yuki rushed to protect the princess, but Yuno stopped him and said it was a trap. If he got too involved, he could die. Yuki replied coldly, "I can't trust someone who hides dead bodies. I'm done playing safe." Determined, he ran forward to protect the princess. As he did, fountains around them erupted, and the princess spoke softly. Her voice snapped the soldiers out of their trance. She then checked her diary and discovered the truth. The hypnosis had been triggered by one of her own soldiers. Later that night, Yuno returned, axe in hand, and sat beside Yuki. Just then, his diary buzzed. "You will die in 30 minutes. A fresh wave of hypnotized soldiers attacked. Yuno, wasting no time, fought them off with her axe, telling Yuki, "If you want to survive, come with me. If you stay with that princess, you'll die." Yuki thought fast and grabbed both Yuno and the princess by the hand. He chose to take them both and escape. After escaping, they contacted Kurusu. He instructed them to meet him in the basement. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Uryu Minene had been captured by the real mastermind behind the hypnotic soldiers, the 12th diary holder. The man revealed himself and explained his diary's power. It notified him of every act of injustice happening around him, even through voice notes. He was blind, which had heightened his sense of hearing to superhuman levels. He could clearly hear every movement, whisper, and strategy being plotted against him. As Yuki, Yuno, and the princess fled, they began to notice the hypnotized soldiers returning to normal. They took a moment to rest. Yuno, however, was still, furious and wanted to kill the princess then and there, but Yuki stopped her. Kurusu got on the call again and warned them, "You're being hunted. That man's senses are incredible. He's blind, so be careful." Suddenly, the group was surrounded by 4 unfamiliar figures. They announced that they were all followers of Hirasaka, the 12th diary holder, and that they intended to kill the princess today. They believed the religious cult she led was a cover for illegal and unjust practices. As the attackers approached, Yuno stepped up. She cleverly marked a different location with a rock, knowing the enemy was blind. When the first attacker turned toward the sound, she ambushed him, but to their horror, he exploded. He had been rigged with a bomb. Yuno, exhausted and injured, was then seized by guards. Yuki was also captured. At this point, the princess revealed her true intentions. She admitted that she had only wanted to capture Yuki, and had used both Yuno and Kurusu as bait. What she didn't expect, however, was that one of her own followers would turn out to be the 12th diary holder. She explained her backstory. Her parents believed she had spiritual abilities simply because her vision was poor. The cult grew around her as her followers blindly trusted in her fake powers. After her parents died, the cult's priest seized control and began exploiting her. In reality, he abused her, using her body to falsely cleanse people of their sins, forcing her to endure horrific things so the cultists could feel forgiven. Now, she had only one goal left: become God. She wanted to wipe out the world and rebuild it in her image. To provoke Yuno, she leaned in and kissed Yuki right in front of her. Then she looked at her diary again and panicked. It was still showing her death. That meant her plan had failed. Yuno, filled with rage, attacked. She slashed through the guards one by one, then sliced the princess's arm and threw her own phone to Yuki. Before the princess could react, Yuno shoved her off a ledge. At that moment, the police arrived. The princess, still alive, grabbed a microphone and announced to the entire facility that if Yuki didn't surrender himself, she would do the same. Vile things to Yuno that were once done to her. Back at the facility, Yuki finds a ball made by the princess's mother. He rushes to her location and rolls the ball toward her. The sight of it distracts the princess long enough for Yuki to launch a dart straight at her diary, and as expected, diary destroyed, player eliminated. The police finally take control of the situation, and everything calms down. On the way home, Yuki can't stop thinking about Yuno. No matter how scary or obsessive she seems, she has always protected him. She genuinely cares. She even falls asleep on his shoulder as they ride back. And for once, Yuki leans in and kisses her. And no, you don't need to be jealous. It's just an anime. Real life doesn't hand out girlfriends that easily. Meanwhile, Uryu Minene isn't arrested. Turns out she had a secret deal with Kurusu, which helped her escape justice once again. A week passes. Yuki goes goes to the airport to pick up his mom, a programmer who works overseas and rarely visits home. As they reach the entrance, Yuki notices shattered glass. He rushes inside, only to find Yuno had been inside his room. She had read through all the entries in his diary, but instead of confronting him, Yuno decided to do something sweet. She cleaned the whole house and even cooked an elaborate meal for him and his mom. Surprisingly, Yuki's mom loves the food. She's so impressed that she jokes, "You should marry my son." Later that night, she casually informs them that the son of a close friend, Tsubaki Hojo, will be staying with them for a few days. His parents had died trying to save the princess. The police still hadn't identified the person responsible for the incident, and until the investigation concluded, he needed a place to stay. The next morning, Hojo arrives. He's a sweet, adorable little boy. As soon as he enters the room, he draws a portrait of Yuki and then slips while holding a knife. Thankfully, it only lands on a pillow beside Yuno, but soon things begin to seem off. Hojo goes to the bathroom, and we learn that none of this was accidental. He's actually the fifth diary holder. His diary works through his drawings. Whatever he sketches becomes his future. He doesn't want to become a god, he just wants to have fun with people. Don't be fooled by his age, he thinks like an adult. He even brought tools with him, planning to kill both Yuki and Yuno. At one point, he even poisons the tomatoes. Yuki is about to eat one when Yuno stops him, saying the tomatoes have gone bad. They're too heavy and smell strange. She throws them away. Only later does Yuki realize that she may have just saved his life. Meanwhile, Hojo concludes that to kill Yuki, he must get rid of Yuno first. Yuki receives another notification. Someone close to him will die soon, by electrocution. Later, while Yuno is taking a bath, Hojo sneaks in and drops a live wire into the tub. Fortunately, Yuki manages to cut the power just in time. Both of them realize that Hojo must be another diary user. That night, Yuki snoops through Hojo's belongings while the boy sleeps, hoping to find his diary. But Hojo catches him and smugly says, "You'll never figure it out." The next day, Hojo finally snaps. Frustrated, he grabs a hammer and tries to attack them directly. Yuki's mom steps in and takes the blow, getting injured in the process. Yuki is overwhelmed with guilt. He blames himself for his mother getting hurt, but Yuno comforts him and assures him that she'll find Hojo's diary no matter what. Motivated by her words, Yuki starts searching again. Meanwhile, Hojo receives a mail order package. Yuki assumes it contains the diary and opens it, only to be knocked out by a powerful scent. Turns out, Hojo's diary was indeed inside the package, but he forgot it opens from the other side. Yuno carries Yuki to the bathroom to help him recover. Later, Hojo approaches her and proposes a deal. He says, "If you play with me, I'll give you the antidote to save Yuki." Desperate to save her love, Yuno agrees. Before going, she makes sure Yuki's mom is safe and out of the way. Yuno searches high and low for Hojo's diary, but she can't find it. Meanwhile, Hojo keeps moving locations using a toy mechanism and eventually floods the area. He electrocutes Yuno using the water. Just as she's about to die, Yuki awakens and attacks, but fails to stop Hojo. In the end, it's Yuno, still barely conscious, who gets up in a rage and attacks Hojo herself. The boy, realizing he's lost, doesn't cry. Instead, he smiles and says, "At least you played with me." He then explains that no one ever played with him before. His parents fought all the time, and he was always left alone. Once Hojo is gone, Yuno collapses from exhaustion. Just then, Reisuke, Hojo's real name, gives Yuki the antidote. Turns out, Kurusu had told him that the fifth diary holder would show up there, and with that, the crisis was finally over, for now. After the chaos involving the fifth diary holder, the police arrive at Yuki's house. His mother reports that an unknown person broke into the house and took the young boy away. The officers reassure her that they'll track him down soon. 2 weeks later, Yuki and Yuno are headed back to school. On the way, Yuki encounters a stranger who smiles at him suspiciously. Yuki ignores it and continues to school. Still shaken by recent events, Yuki joins a new class and finds it overwhelming. Inside the classroom, unfamiliar faces surround him. One student mocks him, saying, "You're the one who got your classmates killed, aren't you?" Before things escalate, 2 students, Hinata and another girl, not the Naruto Hinata, of course, interrupt him and stop the bullying. Their teacher then explains that due to recent incidents, students will now be placed into fixed groups. Yuki is grouped with Hinata Mao and a quiet boy. Their group is assigned to visit an area where multiple dead bodies were previously found. Later, the students go to a park, but Yuki doesn't enjoy the lighthearted atmosphere. Things start to get tense when Hinata goes missing. Yuki receives a notification. Hinata has died. The group rushes to find her and discover that 12 dogs have attacked and killed her. As they panic, a familiar face appears. The stranger Yuki had seen earlier introduces himself as Akisi Aru. He rescues the group and leads them to safety. Once safe, Akisi tells them he's been investigating several deaths, and all of them seem connected to Yuki in some way. Suspicion rises. Later, Yuno tells Yuki bluntly, "One of your new friends must be controlling the dogs. The smart thing to do is use them as bait and escape." Yuki, however, refuses. He blocks the exit and decides to protect them. Thanks to Yuki's quick thinking, the dogs retreat after 30 minutes. But just when things calm down, Mao suddenly holds a knife to Yuki's throat throat and snatches his phone. Hinata soon appears, alive, and reveals she also possesses a diary. They demand that Yuki hand over Akishi's diary if he wants to survive. Flashback to 1 week earlier. Hinata's father loved dogs. He fed them gourmet meals while surviving, on cup noodles himself. But after falling ill, he warned Hinata that Akishi knew too much about his illegal activities. He told her, "You must kill Akisa." Hinata, longing to have her father back, became obsessed with this mission. She befriended Akisa only to trap him later. Now Hinata holds both her own and Yuki's diary. She confronts Akisa and flips a coin, saying, "If I win, I get your diary. If you win, I'll let Yuki go." The terms confuse Hinata. It should have been a win-win for her. But once the coin lands, she hesitates and changes her decision. The future shifts instantly, confirming that Hinata was being manipulated. Meanwhile, Yuno realizes Arise doesn't have a diary at all. He's just been playing around. The two argue, but eventually agree to work together. Hinata's predictions had all been coming from Yuki's phone. When Yuno knocks her out, she alters the prediction entries. In the final coin toss, Akishi wins. Hinata loses because Yuki's phone only shows predictions based on what he hears and sees. As long as he believes something, even a lie can become his visible future. Just as Mao prepares to attack Yuki, Yuno lunges in and stops her. The group tries to escape, but Hinata uses her phone to summon the wild dogs again. As they flee, Yuki sees multiple death predictions appear on his phone. The group huddles to plan a defense. Yuki insists that Hinata isn't truly at fault. It was her father who pushed her into this. As things escalate, Yuno grabs Hinata by the throat. To save her, Yuki lies and says, "Yuno's my girlfriend now, and girlfriends should respect their boyfriend's friends." Embarrassed, Yuno lets Hinata go. Yuki then reflects on what he just said. It was a big statement, and he meant it. Meanwhile, Hinata silently apologizes to her father, realizing her hatred and plans were misplaced. She'd failed. As the group retreats, a dog reveals that Nada's father didn't commit suicide. He was actually captured by Kurusu. Later, we see Reisuke working in a cabin. The scene flashes back to when the game first began. The third diary holder had been pursuing Minena Uryu. While running, she entered a building and encountered a police officer who mistook her for a criminal and tried to arrest her. They both got attacked by the third diary holder. They formed a temporary alliance. Uryu used a faucet to soak the attacker and changed into a maid outfit. Yes, it looked cute, even if she was in danger. Together, they planned a counterattack. The officer distracted the third diary user, while Uryu led him into a room rigged with explosives. She successfully set off the blast, and before leaving, shot the officer as well, securing her path to survival. After growing up around war and violence, Uryu had decided she would become God and destroy everything that had ever hurt her. Meanwhile, Yuki is seen waiting at a bus station where Arise had asked him to come. Just then, Yuno shows up too. Turns out, it's a date. Inside the facility, a helpful attendant guides them through a wedding-themed photo shoot. They dress in bride and groom outfits and take several romantic photos together. Yuki is about to confess something important, but when he sees how happy Yuno is, he holds back. After the wedding photo shoot date, Yuki and Yuno went to a place where real couples came to get married. Yuki seemed happy on the surface, but was haunted by one thought. He wanted to fall in love with Yuno, but the image of those dead bodies at her house still lingered in his mind. After the outing, Yuki dropped Yuno off at her place. The whole thing, including the date setup, had actually been arranged by Akisa Aru so he could get closer to them and investigate. But as soon as Akishi opened Yuno's front door, he was shocked to see a huge pit dug outside her house. Yuki asked Yuno about it, but she acted like she had no idea. It was as if she had forgotten everything, even meeting him before. Later, Akishi told Yuki that he suspected Yuno might be suffering from memory loss and that he should be careful. Meanwhile, during a police investigation regarding several bodies found earlier, the main suspects had been narrowed down to only 2 people, Yuno and Yuki. Elsewhere, Kurusu told Uryu Manin that she needed to become God, given how horrible her past had been. He urged her to follow everything he instructed. Soon, police officers surrounded Yuki and Yuno. Kurusu called Yuki in for questioning and directly asked, "Did you commit murder?" Yuki denied it. Deep down, he trusted Kurusu. He had supported him from the beginning. But that trust shattered when Kurusu loaded 2 bullets into a revolver, pointed one at Yuki and said, "One for you, one for me." 10 minutes passed, and Yuno grew suspicious. She stormed into the room with an officer and saw Kurusu about to pull the trigger. Without hesitation, she shot Kurusu multiple times and took a police officer hostage. The two escaped together. Luckily, for Kurusu, he was wearing a bulletproof vest. Most of the bullets didn't harm him, but one injured his ear. Now the truth behind his future diary was revealed. It allowed him to know about any criminal activity in advance. So, to cover himself, he declared Yuki and Yuno as criminals. Later, when confronted by an officer, Yuki, terrified, shot him in self-defense. While Kurusu's wounds were being treated, he gave a strict order: shoot them on sight. Yuki then received a horrifying notification. Yuno's death was now written in Kurusu's diary. The two ran and jumped off a building to escape, landing on a moving truck that just happened to pass below. By the next morning, police were sweeping the area. Yuki and Yuno hid inside a storage room, starving and scared. They followed Kurusu's wife, suspecting she might lead them to more answers. As they trailed her, an explosion rocked the building. Uryu Minene quickly grabbed Yuki and helped him disable Kurusu's tablet, causing further chaos. They discovered there was only one staircase left they could use to escape. Uryu shook Yuki's hand and promised to eventually tell him why Kurusu betrayed them. But just then, Kurusu called her. "If you let them go, you'll regret it." She ended the call and helped them anyway. Turns out, Kurusu's wife had gone to visit their son in the hospital. Uryu decided to take her hostage, but as soon as word spread, the police surrounded the entire hospital. Uryu then assigned roles. Yuki would keep watch outside. Yuno would guard inside. She handed Yuki a hand grenade, just in case. As Yuki stepped out, police caught him, and Kurusu himself blocked the way. When Kurusu tried to take him hostage, Yuno arrived to save him. Kurusu threatened her. "Take one more step and I'll shoot him." Without flinching, Yuno held the grenade and said, "Pull one more move and I'll pull the pin." Kurusu backed off. Meanwhile, Uryu had planted time bombs around the hospital. When the moment was right, she escaped by jumping out of the building. One officer caught her and placed her in handcuffs, but then a flash grenade went off. It wasn't lethal, but it bought just enough time for the timed explosives to start going off. Amidst the chaos, Yuki found himself standing with a gun. Across from him, Kurusu had taken Yuno hostage, threatening to end her life. As Yuki faced Kurusu, he realized that firing could be dangerous. A single misfire, and Yuno could end up dead. Just as he hesitated, a photo slipped out near his feet. It was a picture of him and Yuno smiling during a happy moment together. That photo triggered something in him. Suddenly, he felt a surge of energy, and the future began to shift. With perfect aim, Yuki fired and hit Kurusu directly. As Kurusu collapsed, still raging, he was about to make a final attack on Yuno. But just then, a police officer and Uryu Minen arrived. Witnessing everything, they helped Kurusu realize his mistake. When Kurusu finally learned that his wife and son were safe, he broke down. In remorse, he destroyed his own phone, ending his participation in the game. Before vanishing, he looked at Yuki and apologized. Cut to another scene. Deus was furious with Murmur for interfering with the future. Originally, the final battle was supposed to be between Yuki and Kurusu, but Murmur had changed the timeline to save Yuki. Now, with Deus growing weaker, he desperately needed a new god. The police officer he had shot survived, and thanks to voice recordings, all charges against Yuki and Yuno had been dropped. They headed off toward the Happy Mountains together. Meanwhile, Aru visited Yuki's house, but found it empty. He then went to see the police officer, who trusted him enough to discuss everything they knew. Together, they pieced together key evidence from Kurusu's materials, including the diary identification numbers and rules of the game. Their conclusion? Every diary holder so far had one thing in common. They all wanted to kill Yuki. If the timeline was to be fixed, someone had to stay close to him 24/7. Aru started to suspect where Yuki and Yuno might be hiding. The next morning, he and the police headed to the nearest town where they had tracked the couple. Along the trail, they encountered various traps, clearly set up by Yuno. Aru then asked the officer if there was a hotel owned by Yuno's family nearby. That's when they all received an email from Yuki, claiming he was in danger. Aru, Hinata, and Mao regrouped, but they suspected it could be a trap. After all, Yuno always seemed to know everything. Then, they received another message from Hinata, saying they had found Yuki and had no choice but to act immediately. They burst into a hotel room, only to find a dummy of Yuki and the door locking behind them. Harmful gas began to fill the room. Meanwhile, Yuki, awake but dazed, found himself in a private suite. Yuno stood nearby in a swimsuit, revealing that they were in her family's hotel. She had brought him there to spend the rest of their lives together in peace. No more diary holders, no more police, just the two of them forever. Elsewhere, Akisi messaged her, saying he knew she had 2 human skulls, likely her parents, and warned her to turn herself in. Yuno, instead, hung up the call and increased the gas levels in the trap. Back in the suite, Yuki slowly regained his senses. He remembered how Yuno had drugged his drink, which knocked him out. He was too weak to fight back now. Suddenly, another boy showed up. His phone updated, revealing predictions, and he began acting according to what it told him. The future had changed again. Yuno handed him a key, but as he turned around, she shot him with a crossbow. Just as she was about to finish him off, she received a notification. Yuki has escaped. Yuki slapped Yuno and stormed out, furious. He received another message. 3 more diary holders were closing in. Carrying the injured boy, Yuki met up with the others. As they moved out, Yuki gave her a death stare, turned away, and walked off. Akisi then picked them up and began driving them home. But on the road, another car crossed paths with theirs. Inside were 3 unknown diary users. Luckily, they didn't recognize Yuki and kept driving. Back at the hotel, Yuno packed her bags, ready to chase after Yuki once again. So this was the first half of the anime series Future Diary. We will definitely continue with part 2, so stay tuned and don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment to motivate us. Thank you.